What if I told you that the key to transforming your life isn't some grand monumental change, but something much simpler? Imagine if you could become 1% better every single day. Sounds small, right? But what if I told you that these tiny, almost imperceptible changes could add up to a massive shift in who you are and what you achieve? James Clear's Atomic Habits is a game changer because it's not about radical transformations overnight. It's about the power of small, consistent actions that compound over time. Whether you're looking to kick a bad habit, build a new skill, or just become a better version of yourself, the principles in this book can show you how. But here's the kicker. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you become. I'm talking about identity-based habits that align with the person you want to be. What if instead of saying, "I want to be fit," you started identifying as someone who never misses a workout? That's where the real magic happens. Stick with me, because in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to break down the most powerful lessons from Atomic Habits. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see how these tiny habits can lead to life-altering results. Ready to unlock the secrets to lasting change? Don't miss out. Subscribe now and take the first step toward building better habits every day. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Power of 1% Improvements. What if, instead of aiming for drastic changes, you focused on getting just 1% better every day? It seems almost too small to matter, right? But that's where the magic lies. James Clear in Atomic Habits shows us that small, daily improvements, those tiny tweaks we make to our habits, actually build up over time in ways that are far more powerful than we might think. Think about it like compound interest in a bank account. In the beginning, the growth seems slow and almost unnoticeable. But as time goes on, the money grows faster and faster. Habits work the same way. When you aim to get just a little bit better each day, those small improvements multiply. And before you know it, they lead to massive changes in your life. Let's break it down with a simple example. If you decide to improve by just 1% each day, by the end of a year, you'll be 37 times better than where you started. Yes, 37 times better. It's the small, consistent efforts that add up. Whether it's exercising, learning a new skill, or becoming more focused, tiny daily progress adds up to extraordinary results over time. Here's why this works. We often get discouraged when we don't see immediate results from our efforts. Maybe you've tried a new diet or started learning a language but gave up because you weren't seeing progress fast enough. The truth is, significant change doesn't happen overnight. But if you stay committed to these small daily habits, that slow, steady progress will eventually lead to the big transformation you're looking for. The key takeaway is simple. Focus on getting just a little bit better every day. Over time, those tiny improvements will create the lasting change you've always wanted. Chapter 2. The 4 Stages of Habit Formation. Let's talk about how habits are formed. They don't just appear out of nowhere. There's actually a simple science behind them. James Clear explains this through what he calls the 4 stages of habit formation: cue, craving, response, and reward. Let's break it down into something everyone can understand. 1. Cue. This is like the starting gun in a race. It's what triggers the habit to begin. Think of it as the signal that tells your brain, hey, it's time to do something. For example, waking up in the morning could be a cue to start your daily routine, or seeing your phone might be a cue to check social media. 2. Craving. Now that the cue has your attention, the craving kicks in. This is the desire or motivation that pushes you to act. It's the reason behind the habit. Why do you reach for your phone? Maybe it's because you crave connection or entertainment. If you're thinking about starting a running habit, the craving might be the desire to feel fit and healthy. 3. Response. Here's where the action happens. This is the actual habit itself. It's what you do in response to the cue and craving. If your shoes are by the door, cue, and you want to feel energized, craving, your response might be to go for a run. It's the behavior that follows the craving. 4. Reward. Finally, there's the reward, the good feeling you get after completing the habit. This could be a sense of accomplishment, happiness, or relief. After your run, you might feel that rush of endorphins, which makes you want to do it again tomorrow. So why does this matter? Understanding these 4 stages can help you intentionally build better habits and break the bad ones. When you know what triggers your habits, why you're motivated to do them, and what you gain from them, you can start to design your habits in a way that works for you. For example, if you want to read more, leave a book on your bed. Q. So when you see it, you crave knowledge. Craving. Pick it up and read a chapter. Response. And feel smarter and more accomplished afterward. Reward. The more you repeat this cycle, the more automatic the habit becomes. Soon, you won't even have to think about it. It'll just be part of your routine. Chapter 3. The importance of identity. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing not just your reflection, but the person you want to become. That's the core of one of the most powerful ideas in Atomic Habits. True change happens when you change your identity, not just your habits. Most people start with what they want to achieve, a specific goal like losing weight, writing a book, or running a marathon. These are great goals, but James Clear argues that if you really want these changes to stick, you need to shift your focus from what you want to do to who you want to be. Let's break it down with an example. Instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, start thinking, I am a runner. Notice the difference? The first is a goal, something external that you want to achieve. The second is an identity, something that's part of who you are. When you start seeing yourself as a runner, running becomes something you do naturally, not just because you're chasing a goal, but because it's who you are. This shift in thinking is powerful because it aligns your actions with your identity. Every time you go for a run, no matter how short, you're reinforcing the belief that you are a runner. It's like casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. The more you act in line with this identity, the more it becomes part of you. Here's why this matters. Goals are temporary. Once you reach them, the motivation often fades. But when you focus on your identity, the habits that come with it stick around. If you identify as a writer, you'll keep writing even after your book is finished. Because writing is just what you do. Changing your identity might sound daunting, but it starts with small steps. Ask yourself, who do I want to become? Then start taking actions that align with that identity. Over time, these small actions add up, and before you know it, you'll be living the life of the person you always wanted to be. In the end, it's not just about setting goals. It's about becoming the person who naturally achieves those goals. Shift from saying, I want to I am, and watch how your habits and life transform. Chapter 4. The Habit Loop and Environment Design. Have you ever noticed how your surroundings seem to have a big influence on what you do, even when you're not thinking about it? James Clear explains this perfectly in Atomic Habits. Your environment plays a huge role in shaping your habits, and most of the time, we're not even aware of it. Think of it like this. You want to start eating healthier, but every time you open your kitchen cupboard, all you see are chips and cookies. What are you most likely going to eat? Exactly. But if instead you keep fresh fruits and veggies easily visible and store the junk food out of sight, suddenly making healthy choices becomes much easier. That's the power of your environment. Clear calls this the habit loop. Your environment gives you cues that trigger habits. If your space is designed well, it can lead to positive actions without you having to rely solely on willpower. For example, if you want to be more productive at work, clutter-free desk, organized files, and turning off distracting notifications can make focusing much simpler. The secret is to design your environment in a way that makes good habits effortless and bad habits difficult. If you want to exercise more, leave your workout clothes out the night before, so they're the first thing you see in the morning. If you want to watch less TV, put the remote somewhere out of reach, or remove distractions like snacks from your living room. What's great about environment design is that it doesn't require huge changes. Small tweaks can have a big impact. Just rearranging things to support the habits you want can make all the difference. You're essentially making the good habits the easy option and the bad ones the hard choice. The key takeaway is that your environment should work for you, not against you. By intentionally setting up your surroundings to encourage positive habits, you're removing barriers and giving yourself the best chance to succeed. So, start thinking about how you can tweak your environment today. What can you change to make your good habits easier to follow? Chapter 5. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Building good habits and breaking bad ones can feel like a daunting task, but James Clear makes it simple with his 4 laws of behavior change. These are practical steps that make it easier to stick to your new habits. Let's break it down so anyone can follow along. 1. Make it obvious. The first law is to make your habit visible. The more obvious a habit is, the more likely you are to do it. For example, if you want to read more, place a book on your bed so that you see it every night before going to sleep. If you want to drink more water, keep a water bottle on your desk or in the places you spend the most time. By making the habit hard to ignore, you're setting yourself up for success. 2. Make it attractive. The second law is to make your habit something you actually look forward to. You can do this by pairing your habit with something enjoyable. For example, if you want to work out more, combine it with listening to your favorite music or podcast. The idea is to attach something you love to the habit, making it more appealing and fun. If your habit feels like a chore, you're less likely to stick with it. So make it attractive and enjoyable. 3. Make it easy. The third law is all about making your habit simple to start. Start small, so small that you can't say no. For example, if you want to start meditating, begin with just 2 minutes a day. If you want to start running, start by putting on your running shoes and walking for 5 minutes. When the habit is easy, there's no excuse not to do it. You're removing the friction, making it almost effortless to get going. 4. Make it satisfying. Finally, the fourth law is to make the habit satisfying. Your brain loves rewards, especially when they're immediate. Celebrate your small wins, whether it's treating yourself to something enjoyable or simply giving yourself a mental high five. For example, after completing your habit, reward yourself with a break, small treat, or just the satisfaction of checking it off your list. The more satisfied you feel, the more likely you are to keep doing the habit. By following these 4 simple laws, making it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, you can design habits that stick. You're creating an environment where your habits almost feel automatic, and before you know it, they'll be part of your daily routine without much effort. Chapter 6. The Plateau of Latent Potential. Understanding the Power of Consistency. When we start a new habit, it's easy to get discouraged because we don't see instant results. This can make us feel like all our efforts are for nothing. However, this is a common experience and is actually a natural part of building any habit. James Clear, a well-known author on habits and personal growth, calls this phase the plateau of latent potential. To understand this concept, think of an ice cube. In a cold room, the room's temperature starts to rise slowly, but the ice cube just sits there, unchanged. Even as the temperature inches upward, the ice doesn't melt. It's not until the room reaches 32 degrees Fahrenheit that the ice cube finally starts to melt. This melting point is a powerful analogy for how habits work. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. You might be going to the gym, eating healthier, or practicing a new skill, but the results are invisible. However, just like the temperature steadily rising in the room, every small effort is adding up, preparing you for a breakthrough moment. You're building momentum, even if you can't see it right away. This period of unseen progress is the plateau of latent potential. It's a time when your actions are laying the groundwork for significant change, even though it doesn't seem that way. Many people give up during this phase because they mistakenly believe that their efforts aren't working. But the truth is, they're just 1 degree away from their own melting point, the moment when all their hard work pays off. The key takeaway is to stay consistent and keep pushing forward, even when progress isn't visible. Success often comes from the accumulation of small daily actions that eventually lead to big results. It's like the ice cube, the change is happening, even if you can't see it right away. So whenever you feel frustrated or tempted to quit, remember the ice cube. Your results might be hidden for now, but with patience and persistence, they will eventually surface. Chapter 7. Embrace the Power of Tracking and Reflection. A simple guide to staying on track with your habits. Building new habits can be challenging, but one of the most powerful tools you can use to stay on track is habit tracking. James Clear, an expert on habits, emphasizes how important it is to measure and reflect on your progress. Let's break this down into 2 key steps: tracking and reflection. Step 1. Tracking your habits. Imagine you're trying to develop a new habit, like exercising every day or reading more books. It's easy to lose motivation if you don't see progress. That's where tracking comes in. Whether you use a simple checklist, a habit tracking app, or even just mark off days on a calendar, the act of tracking your habits gives you a clear picture of how well you're doing. Every time you check off a day, you're not just marking your progress, you're also creating a sense of achievement. Seeing a streak of successful days builds momentum and motivates you to keep going. It's like giving yourself a small reward every day, which makes it easier to stick with your habit. Step 2. Reflecting on your habit. Tracking alone isn't enough. Reflection is just as important. At regular intervals, maybe once a week or at the end of each month, take some time to look back at your progress. This is your chance to ask yourself some important questions. Is this habit really helping me? Am I finding it easy or difficult to stick with? Do I need to make any changes to my approach? By reflecting, you can identify what's working and what's not. Maybe you realize that a habit isn't serving you as well as you thought, or perhaps you discover that you need to tweak your routine to make it more effective. This process keeps you intentional and focused, ensuring that you're always moving in the right direction. Tracking and reflecting on your habits are simple yet powerful practices. Tracking keeps you motivated by showing your progress, while reflection helps you make necessary adjustments. Together, they ensure that you stay on the path to success. So as you work on building new habits, remember to embrace the power of tracking and reflection, the key to staying consistent and achieving your goals. Aggregation of marginal gains. The final lesson from Atomic Habits is about the aggregation of marginal gains. This idea was famously used by the British cycling team, who made tiny improvements in different areas of their performance. Over time, these small changes added up to massive success. Your habits work the same way. It's not about making a huge change all at once, but about taking many small steps. Each little effort might seem minor, but when you put them all together, they can lead to significant results. So think about one small habit you can start today. It doesn't have to be big, just something that brings you closer to who you want to be. Remember, it's the accumulation of these small actions creates real change. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Atomic Habits. Remember, big changes start with small steps. Take one principle you've learned today and put it into action. If you found this helpful, share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what habit you're working on. Keep pushing forward. Every small effort brings you closer to your goals.